Hey everybody, tafony here once again, and today's Rambling About is going to be on the ALM Busy Circuits Pamela's Pro Workout. It's an 8 HP, 8 output CV modulation source. It's envelopes, it's triggers, it's LFOs, it's gates, it's everything. It's something that needs no introduction if you're here, but we are going to explore it together. And let's do some quick housekeeping before we do that. I'm not affiliated with ALM. I bought this thing new at full price off a dealer here in Canada, but it's not sponsored by ALM or by the dealer or anything like that. I'm not a journalist, obviously. I'm not here to present it to you or assess it for you. Instead, I'm just here to share my experience with PAMs and give you a sound, modulation, I guess, demonstration. Tafony's Rambling About, this is just a video blog of sorts. It is my journeys with music hardware, where I'm sharing my firsthand thoughts, experiences, and misconceptions with you here today. But more importantly than all that, it sounds like this. Sorry, I think I'm getting sick, so my voice might be a little wonkier than usual, but I'm going to try and get this video out before the inevitable happens and I do get sick, so let's just get this going right away. And I want to give you some backstory with my relationship with PAMs and say this is if you include the time I owned Pam's new workout, this is like the fourth time I've owned PAMs, because if you've watched some of my other videos before, I'm always like, I don't know why clocked LFOs and clocked modulation is such a dirty word in Eurorack. I just want my LFOs to be synced, and I want them to have level outputs, and I want them to be really immediate. And PAMs hits the mark on the first two perfectly, but the immediacy is where it kind of falls down for me. Now, in saying that, PAMs is the most ridiculously powerful piece of 8 HP you're going to find. I mean, it does everything. It in a small case or an intelligible palette or a, something compact, you can't beat PAMs. There's there's just the utility to size ratio is just ludicrous, right? It can be your clock generator on one channel, it can be your step sequencer on another. Now it can't be super intentional in that, but if you have a small case for fun and you need something to be the brains of that, you cannot beat PAMs. There's what's the PAMs alternative, right? Two distings? I don't know. That would be a much more headache experience than that of PAMs. But what I will say with it, and the reasons why I've sold it previously, is that in the big case, we're kind of jumping ahead here and going to the rambling before the demoing stuff. But you know what? I think PAMs is ambiguous enough that you don't, need me to introduce it to you. And we are going to do that. But I just want to say, the thing with PAMs for me, though, is that there's some things I really don't like on it, and I've been, how do I say this? there is so much praise from Pam's, and I am going to get into doing tons of it for this, but I just want to say, like, the reason that I sold it is the immediacy of it. It's a little finicky isn't the word, but like it's not immediate. It's everything controlled by menus, and that's fine, but it just, I want some sort of clocked modulation source that is, there's that metaphor about like the car heater controls, right? That's like, where do you want it? How hot do you want it? And how much do you want it? I want that for clocked LFOs. And Pam's is deeper than that. But I've been trying to find something in that vein. So if you know something in that vein, please let me know, because I'm still on the hunt. I recently picked up the Shack Mad Mod Medusa in hopes of that being it, and it is totally not that. And it's cool. It's its own really unique multi-LFO thing. But I want clocked modulation. Maybe give me 4 LFOs with control over, if I'm using my heater metaphor, not the rap lyric heater, but my metaphor before of the heater, that I want level. So built-in attenuation, I want level. I want shape, the car metaphor, maybe that's your, where do you want it? I want, like, control over the waveforms. It doesn't have to do envelopes like something more powerful like Pam's would do. But I would like to, switch from a sine wave to like a triangle, and you could like go through to do random as well, and just like different waveforms. Attenuation, I think, is key, though. I don't know why LFOs or... Okay, you know what? We're doing rambling about today, because we're already at the 6-minute mark, and I haven't even started. So, the Eurorack always has sort of... There's no unified... I guess language isn't the word, but like... There's no defined... Someone has to handle the attenuation, right? And usually that ends up having to be an extra module, which is kind of annoying. And I get, like, it's fine. Like, you got to accept it at some point, but it's annoying that there's just sort of this, like, mix of, I don't know, design philosophies that, like, Pam's has attenuation on board. Lots of modules have attenuation on the receiving side, but it's all over the place, right? Like, some stuff doesn't have it, lots of stuff does have it. And honestly, what I just want is oct, but clocked, and with attenuation. You know what, I would give up my waveform selection just for simplicity, right? And I just, like, Pam's can do all of that stuff, and it's awesome, but it takes a while to get it into settings you want, and it all requires menu diving. And what is most annoying for me, actually, I find, is we're going way out of order today, but if this is your first time here, this is what we do. This is why it's called Rambling About. There is a lot on board, and it all saves automatically. Now, I wish there was an option to, and I swore that there was an option to disable automatic saving of your presets isn't the word, of your like project. I don't think this thing has projects, but I don't like that every time you come into Pam's it has your settings from last time, and there's little way beyond going into all of the settings and looking at it to know what's what, right? So last time I was in Pam's, and I haven't been in Pam's today since putting in this case. It's in another case, right? It was on a small case. I was noodling with it. I did sequences on some output. I'm not sure which one. I did different clock divisions. Some are quantized for pitch. Others are divided in a certain way for triggers. And I put it in my new case here, and no idea where all that's at, right? Like, why can I not reset this? Now, I think there's a way, right? So, okay. Rambling About is really rambling about today, all right? I hope, okay. If you're new to Pam's, if Pam's is something you're interested in, then this is probably not going to be the right video for you, right? And I feel like an obscure Eurorack YouTuber who's not very popular is probably not your starting place. You want a Red Meats recording or someone who can introduce those concepts or who can introduce PAMs in a way that's a lot more thoughtful and approachable. And this is just, our time together, hopefully. I'm Tafony and trying to be your friend. And this is something. All right. Okay, bank. Bank is what it's called. Okay, there is reset all. Reset all. Let's go. Okay, I think I love PAMs now. I mean, actually, you know what? I always loved PAMs. I shouldn't say that or imply that I don't like PAMs because I so appreciate the power. But okay. Yeah. Reset all. That is incredibly appreciated. All right, hold, long press, reset all. Yes, and I hope that means all of the divisions and everything, right? So it did save my clock BPM. I don't have a problem with that. These are all back to 1 times. Oh my God, let's go. That is okay. Well, if we weren't rambling before, we are learning too. All right. I was just gonna say I find it super annoying that you can do so much with it and the immediacy isn't there though. I in the other case, I had triggers set up, I had quantization, I had all of this stuff that was unique to that case, and then I come over and I'm ready for a fresh patch, and everything's set up in a way that I have no idea what's going on. However, that is just fine now that I know I can reset it all. So thank the Lord. Okay, so I think we'll go through the panel in a flash here just because it's really straightforward to do. There is a clock input if you want to externally clock PAMs. I usually do that. There is no reset, but there is rather a run, which is kind of interesting. I think there's a way to set it up so that you can reset it with other stuff. If I'm just doing LFOs, I don't mind to have resets or, it's okay. And then there is 2 freely assignable CV inputs, and I really like how they have that set up. The chances of you trying the squid sample and not PAMs are kind of slim, I'd say, but the assignability of the stuff in the ALM language is awesome. I just love being able to assign it to multiple things as well. However, I rarely use that on PAMs because I feel like PAMs, I'm not, it's your rack. You're welcome to do whatever you want with it, and it would be really cool to do swing by means of patching CV in or a million other things, right? Or self-patching PAMs and stuff, right? But for me, PAMs is the modulator, and it sends outputs. It does not receive modulation itself, but there's a reason to do everything, right? This is the beauty of your rack. Now, we've reset all. Let's go through these settings quick. So input is clock. We already did that. There is a little bit of interesting, they really like a high resolution clock at 24. That's what's PPQN mean again? Let me know in the comments. I think it's pulses per quarter note. So it expects and it sends a super high clock, which is cool. But usually you'll find when you clock PAMs, your source is never running that quickly. Now there is different UI themes. Just for fun, we're going to run through them all. You want your Star Trek one? Do you want your PPT, which I believe is something else? DX is DX7 inspired, I think. For today, I switched it to the basic because I thought it would have the most contrast, and it's kind of hard to film screens sometimes. This is Euclidean hold time, I think. I don't know that setting. There is a preset management system here, and you get 8 slots of did not want to do that. That's okay. We can save this if we want to. We don't want to, but we do get our beloved reset all. I knew that existed, and then I was looking up online and nobody said anything about it. Maybe it's in such an obvious place that it wasn't worth mentioning, but here I am not knowing where it is. So I think it's funny. There's I don't know what this icon is, but it looks like a laptop to me, and I always wondered what the idea was, right? Okay, so there's a start stop button. Obviously, you run the sequencer. So it's going right now, and I think it just starts with square waves on quarter notes. That's fine. But above the encoder, there's this arrow and a laptop icon. I don't know what the idea about the laptop is, but hey, it's definitely a computer on board. It has a screen. It has a interface, right? So what can we do with PAMs? Well, you can scroll through at the top level your 8 channels, and you can make changes to them. Oh, I'm so excited that there's a reset all function. Is that the stupidest thing ever? Well, not having it would have been the stupidest thing ever, but obviously they have it. Now, we're going to just start patching this, I think, because for today, PAMs is usually not my brains. It's usually not my clock generator, and it certainly can be. It's great in small cases doing that, but in the main case today to film, PAMs is going to take on the unique role of doing that, or filling that spot today. And what do we want to do? What's something that would be good? You know what? Let's use the things beside it. So something that you can see on the screen. So I'm going to clock it to the excite input of the steady state gate. I'm going to take my output and send that into my voice. Hold on a moment here. Just grab some more cables. We're just going to use Vert Iter Legio for no reason other than it is in the screen right now. Okay, so just going to mute that for a second. So PAMs got our quarter note coming out of the 8th output going into the trigger of the steady state gate. We're going to try where possible to color code these, just because you can't see the full patch, obviously, as you wouldn't be able to. And we're going to go through what I think is sort of like the easiest way on PAMs to use it as a sequencer, just to show you the workflow. Not because this is probably the most common use for PAMs or anything, but what we're going to do is hold our PAMs. Now, what I want to do, there's a couple parameters here, and let's just run through it quick. On the first channel, there's shape. So right now we're in square. There is width control over the square. I think this actually changes based on the wave shape, but I could be wrong. Let's just keep going through it. There's level, which is your onboard attenuation. As I said in the intro, like, I wish this was a thing everywhere. There's your offset, so it like sets a minimum level at the starting point of the waveform. There is phase for where you want it to start, and I think there's a way to sync this through the CV input in that way. Probability, really cool for gate sequencers, not for what I'm about to use it for pitch, but yeah, there's a Euclidean sequencer on board as well. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you like Euclidean stuff, it's really cool. When I made that video, and lots of people were like, PAMs isn't a sequencer. I'm like, it has a freaking Euclidean sequencer on board. What do you mean it's not a sequencer? Anyway, loop we are going to get into, and we'll come back to that in a second. There's cross operation, again, too deep. Flex operation, too deep for this video, but you can invert it. And what we do want to do is quantize it. So we want major scale, natural minor, harmonic minor. We're going to, there's lots here. There's pentatonic, there's Lydian, there's Phrygian, there's non-Western scales, there's user scales. Let's go. Okay, let's get back into everyone's favorite harmonic minor. And now if I bring this in, it's going to be in one spot, right? Because here, there's a scope here. Also really appreciated the scope. It's just like, all right, putting some time into PAMs. I think I'm gonna like grow to love it even more. But if you had a dedicated quantizer module, this process might be a little more immediate. But again, it's just like that balance of like, you know, yes, this takes a little bit longer. There aren't dedicated controls to shape. It's all one encoder and one parent menu that you have to go through, but it's 8HB. It's doing 7 other channels worth of stuff, right? These just like things that are a balance, right? And it's really, really quite remarkable how much they're able to fit on board here, right? Like, it's pretty amazing. So If you're here, you probably already knew that. So these are different widths of square waves. I don't think this actually can do audio rate, but if that is wrong, let me know. These are digital waveforms, so I don't see why not. But there is the triangle wave. There is this sort of, this isn't an envelope, I don't think. This is just like a sort of slewed triangle. There's sine for your LFO classics. There is actual envelopes on board here, which is cool. Again, their power is there. It's crazy powerful, but if you want to adjust the attack, the hold, decay, like you gotta sort of, you know, dial that in via a menu, which is a trade-off, but it's very cool that it is there. So what I do want to do, though, just to demonstrate sort of the workflow of PAMs, is switch to the random mode. So knocking everything over. So we're going to hit random and bring in our sound again. And then let's... Sorry, I got to do a little drilling down of our sound. Okay, and then we're going to get into some PAMs parameters. There's slew, so I think you can sort of like, in this context, so again, speaking towards the like immediacy of PAMs, right, there's also in the menu diving, and if you watched the channel before, you know I really appreciate menu diving over button combos. I say this in every video, and I'm going to say it here again. Just, if a menu exists, then it's findable. If a menu does not exist, then you have to pull up the manual, find the button combo, find the prey that you can remember it on stage. Maybe I am gonna say that it's annoying a bit on PAMs to remember what slew means in the context of a quantized random channel, but I will take that over button combos any day of the week. So just in saying that, let's hear it. What does slew do? I think this is going to kind of make it glide. Yeah. So, you know, given that this isn't a sequencer, right, you just got to think about, use your modular brain or my peanut brain. So I don't want to do any gliding, but it's cool to think that, like, what does slew mean in that context? Well, it means it's going to kind of do this. And while we're on that topic, if you go down past 0%, you can CV assign it. So here's a context where you might want to use it, right? Alright, I'm not going to use any of that today. Level, you can set a maximum, basically. This is what we definitely do want. And again, level doesn't really contextually mean like level here, right? Because it's, you know, putting a ceiling on your quote on your notes, but every different waveform has a different you know, thing it translates to. Now you can set a floor in quantized mode by adding offset, right? So we're sort of locking it into a, it's random, but it's not as, you know, crazy. We're bringing a floor and a ceiling to it. Phase, again, what does phase mean in the context of quantization? And it means it's actually going to change the timing a bit, so it's not on the same times as my triggers. So it's interesting, right? And I don't know if I would use that here, but I want to demonstrate that to you, to just be like, that is the PAMs workflow, right? What is phase here? That's what it is. And you gotta use your modular brain. Right now, probability, the only thing again with this not actually being a sequencer, so probability, I don't think it will ever not send pitch triggers, but what you can do, and we'll come back to this on the other one, is your gate probability is a really useful feature if you're doing hi-hats out of PAMs, and you know, you just fill your boots, and then bring the probability down to 50% while you get some like cool randomized ratcheting hats. Same for this. Euclidean steps is not, or I'm not doing steps in this one, and I'm not doing Euclidean today because this video is already way too long. I'm not even through one channel. But yeah, what we do want to do is loop. So we find something we like, we're going to do 4-bar loop. Dun, 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 dun. See? And then if you want to clear it, I think you just go back to this. And sending it randomized voltage here might be really cool too. So just like, keep in mind the flexibility of PAMs, right? It is a trade-off. It can be insanely deep, and you could modulate this parameter. But I won't, and I just want to demonstrate that part to you. So let's do, how long does this go? I think this will go up to 128 even. 64, just crazy, right? I think this is fun in a small case to write melodies. Well, not write, but find a melody you like, lock it in, let it run. What you're doing here. So, loop wake, I think this changes the offset of it. Like, which is your first start? Yeah, nap, sleepy time. Okay, shift. We're not going to get into that depth. Neither are we going to get into the depth of the cross and flex ops because we don't need it. Now, you can invert it, which is cool. It still remains quantized in the same way, which is also appreciated. And I think that was the last module. Nope, that wasn't. So inverted, yes. Let's go back to no just for simplicity's sake, although I kind of liked how the other one sounded more. Quantize we already did, harmonic minor, and then scope. I think the scope is really useful. I wish PAMs, I would take a larger PAMs with more access to these, with a larger second screen even. But for being what it is, super sweet, right? Like, having the freaking scope on board is a killer feature. So let's get out of here. There you go. We have a sequence on board, right? Now, let's do a little modulation, and then that'll probably be about all the rambling I do today. I'm in channel 3 just to space these out a little evenly, but we want to modulate our flavor knob. Now, it's getting triggers right now, so let's enter the third one. We want to make this a LFO. Let's make it a LFO in a sine wave. We want to attenuate it, though, because it's already crazy, right? And like I said before about Eurorack not having a cohesive thing about who's handling the attenuation, Iter Legio does not have an attenuator on board, but thankfully PAMS does, so we can bring in no attenuation and then fade it in. This is the sort of thing that, like, I can really see it would be nice to have a dedicated control over these things, right? But then PAMS is beautiful and small, and where would you start and end with that? I don't know. Who gets a assignable control? I don't know. I guess the idea you could hook up, say, a navigator or some other type of CV controller and assign it to this and then externally handle it elsewhere. But yeah, these are just like, I just want to show you what the PAMS process is like, right? So we don't want to do that much. We just want to do a little bit of attenuation here, so that's cool. Offset, I don't think we need any offset, but so what I can do this way, by offsetting it, I've sort of brought the minimum level up, but my waveforms are a little more slewed, a little more mellow, right? So I don't want to do that because I brought the ceiling down anyway, but that's, it's cool, it's on board. Phase, I mean, I was going to say, I don't know if I'd really need phase for LFO, but it seems putting it at 50% is modulating in a way that's more pleasing right now, so let's just leave it. Probability, I definitely want this to always run. I'm not going to do any sequencing of that style. So, there we go. We have flavor. Now, I think just for funs, we should also do a little bit of trigger sequencing, just to wrap this thing up. And trying to keep PAMS abridged is going to be a challenge, but here we are. So this is going to my kick. Now, I don't love this beat, obviously. I don't need to tell you that. But being that we're limited in what we can do sequence-wise, I'm going to take our melody and slow it down. So on our 8th channel, we're going to match it up down to the divider to be half. Now we need to make our decay longer on the gate. And I don't know, I don't think it gets much more modular than this. So with that being said, I patched up my kick without saying anything about it. We're going to go to the 5th channel. We've got our square wave, we've got everything. I don't want to do anything to my kick, so what I'm actually going to do out here is get out of here, go into the 6th, and bring in my snare. Sorry, it's going to get real crowded on board here. It's amazing what they fit into 8 HP. That sounds pretty terrible. What we want to do is bring this down into half. I just need to find a snare sound on Plonk. Some of these presets are really wacky, and not in a good way. I love Plonk, but now, sequence, very rudimentary, obviously, but like, hopefully you can appreciate the workflow and not the really lacking sounds. Alright, let's get going. Alright, get into our 4th channel. What I want to do is actually increase the multiplication on here, so we want to do a quick hat. Now we're getting real techno-y. And then we just want to go in and do some probability. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Now you can loop your probability if you like the random phrase that you've made and then you want to hold on to it. That's also totally a thing as well. So I have 2 channels of my step sequencer. I better get that going. So that's our 7th channel. We want to do it super short. Now, you know what? We want to do some... So there's... I think somewhat intentionally they've put on some uneven things here, which I think is really cool. Sorry, I needed to change that a little bit. Let's bring up my drums a little bit. So that's really cool. Maybe I'll go a little more... So this sounds a little funky, but if we bring in some randomization by means of probability, sounds a little funky still. I think I needed that other one. So now I've got some probability on my hats. Like, I love that. I really appreciate that. And you know what? Just so we can show that we used everything, let's go into channel 2. And what can we do with this one? What's something we haven't done? I can hear you screaming, it's the Euclidean, use the Euclidean. Let's do an envelope. So I think I can do a timbre here. Yeah. Or maybe I'll modulate my frequency. Yeah. All right, let's let that play us out. All right, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Pams is great. I think just because like I feel a little fear in saying something as blasphemous as I have issues with PAMs when it is like ludicrously powerful and compact and a beautiful module in every sense of the word. But like, I just want to share some of the reasons why you might not mesh with it, even though I am totally meshing with it right now, and in a small case, it really, really excels. I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.